Hello, and we're going to talk about patterns today. So this is Illustrator lesson about patterns. So the first thing I'd like you to do is open up Illustrator and create a new document. Just like we did last week, it'll be letter size. I already have mine open, but all you need to do is it'll pop up this dialog box, which you should be familiar with, which is New Documents. And in the New Documents, you should be able to just go to Print, and then letter. And then the only thing I would do is definitely write in AI, which is the program we're still working on, and then your last name. It's good to keep this as inches, and then the rest should be correct. Just a quick peek on advance, and then you can hit create. Mine's already open and ready to go. Simple repeats, which create pattern. Go to a simple line segment. I'm going to do a circle, and I'm going to do a star, because who doesn't like a star? I'm going to show you how quickly you can create. I always like to align everything. So the first task would be to reselect the segment that I made. Make sure it has some sort of stroke on it. You can make it a little bit bigger. And then it's still selected. I hit that option. And then I'm going to drag it over. So this space here is going to be recorded. So keep in mind how wide you want to make the space to maybe possibly create a pattern. So I'm not going to go too far out. And now it's remembered this space gap. And now all I need to do is Command D. And voila, whole bunch of stripes. So the circle, I do the same thing. I do option, and then I bring it out a little bit. Just going to have it loop together just a little, like a chain. It will remember it, and I'll just need to do Command D. I can hold it on, and it'll go really fast. Star, let's loop it up really close. So I'm just going to bring it out a little, and maybe, I was going to say down a little, but I don't want to do that, because then I'll start angling down. So just over a little, and then again, simple Command D. And if I hold it down, it'll go really fast. So that's one direction. I'm kind of giving them all a little space. So when I grab it and again, option down, I even want to kind of off center this. I can hit the Command D to make a whole bunch more. So it's really following this, the next step that you do. So this, I'm going to make right in the center. See how there's that blue X? I'm going to put it right there, and then I'm going to do the repeat. So it's making a really interesting pattern. It's not the fastest approach, even though it's pretty fast. It's a nice way of kind of getting an idea across quickly without putting too much time into it. We're going to go to the brushes, and we're going to make pattern brushes. So we're going to start with just making new ones. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new artboard. So you can label these artboards. It's good to define what they are to make it easy. Sometimes when you're printing it out singularly, it's good to know which one is which. So this one we're going to do the brush pattern. And again, let's start with the line, because we're going to repeat the same step. And I'm going to make the stroke even larger. So nice thick one. We could even change it and make it into curvy shape. So all I need to do is drag and drop into the brush palette. Then I select the pattern brush and hit OK. It'll give me all these options of what it looks like when it's in a corner, and as it goes down a straight line, and again a corner. So you might want to change this. So this is my line. Title it in some way. And then I like to always make sure that tint's on because you can change the tint a little bit. Hit OK. And now let's see what we've got. So if I did a line segment, it would look like this. And if I did a circle, it would look like that. So that was the line segment that we made a little more fancy. Here's a circle. So what if we did a thin, and then I can come back with another circle, getting right in the center, and hit Shift Option. That will make it that it comes through the center. And then I want to make this one a little thicker, I think. And then maybe we can do one more. Click. And then remember it's Shift Option to bring it from the center going outwards. And then this we could make a lot. All right, so that's an interesting little circle we have there. You can maybe do E and bring it down a little bit, it's a little bit smaller. And then V to get off of it. So I can select it because I want to drag it into my palette. And then hit Pattern. And hit OK. So this is what it's going to look like when it's a pattern. And then we'll just turn the tint off. So let's see what it looks like if we do a line. And then what we do if we do a circle. Circle of a circle. So that's how you make a pattern brush. It's a fun and fast way of creating multiple patterns quickly. So we'll move on to another artboard. We should start with first having a square. We add the square in the middle. And I like to keep it equal sides. It's very important that they're actually both 5, 5, let's say. If for some reason they aren't exactly the size, you can go up here. This is very handy again to have. Remember I showed you the control. Then I can go up and see that the shape is right here and make sure that it actually is 5 and 5. Let's just start with very simple shapes. Let's do a star, but let's change it to a triangle. So all I did was just click anywhere. I didn't drag, and that's where I got the dialog for the star box. And I want 3 to make a triangle. So we got a nice triangle here, and then I'm going to swap this. Remember we talked about that before. And then again, V again to grab my selection so I can put my selection here. And I'm just going to work on this side of the line. These little shapes here. So again, I need to add a stroke first. And then add one of these. And I kind of want a little bit thicker, so I'm going to bring this one out so that we can really see the form. It's the edges that are most important when you're making a pattern, because this needs to line up to another box that's located on this side. So I'm going to do a couple more things on the top and then a couple of things on the bottom, because this is just going to be copied and pasted over to this side. So let's do, actually, I said circle, so let's bring on a circle. From the center, it would probably be a little bit easier, so I could stay on that center line. And then I want to add a few just right here. Okay, and then maybe we'll use the pencil and kind of draw like a little squiggly lines. Okay, so they're disappearing because I haven't selected I can use V again and select them and actually make strokes for it. And we're going to keep these kind of small. So what I would do is just get the objects in that are going to affect the outside, and then I'd go into more detail in the center. So I might want to so the next thing I would do is just add a couple more components on the sides. Remember that polygons, I can also change the edges, the sides, to make different sizes. That's way too big for this, but let's bring it down smaller. Again, V, and then Option. I'm just going to drag it over. All right, so I think that's enough. I don't want to get too crazy. This is something I'd like you guys to try out. So this one in particular, I'm going to kind of hold off on doing much more. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move this, and it has to be precise to be on this side. So what I do is I'm only worrying about anything on the edge of the box. And the other thing we need to think about for this box is that we need to kind of think about transform. And what we're doing is we're understanding where these lines are. So where is the X and where is the Y? So these should be both equal in height and width. Somehow this always changes a little. So these should both be equal height and width. And what I want to do is make sure that those are exactly on the line the way they are. I need to lock this box. This box needs to not be able to be selected once I start grabbing these objects to move it to exactly to the other side. How to do that is Command 2, or I go to Object, and then I go down to Lock Selection. I'm going to start moving the objects. So X is right or left, Y is top or bottom. So we're going to do X first, and X going to the right is plus. So I'm plussing this forward 5 inches. So I get to select them all, and the transform shows up, and I can grab this panel. You can also get the panel from up here, right here in Windows, but it's easier sometimes to just use the control panel. And all I have to do is now plus 5 inches, because I'm moving it 5 inches to the other side of this square. Hence why it was very important for it to be 5 inches on either sides. And then I hit return. Oops, that worked out perfect, but we forgot to copy and paste it in front. So let's go back. We'll do copy, which is Command C, and then copy it in front by doing Command F. So you probably can't see that it's there because it's literally on top, but let's try this trick again of moving it forward that 5 inches. So plus again, and 5, and then return. Voila! So to get these shapes to the bottom, we need to use the Y-axis. And what we're going to do, like we did with the X, is we're going to copy, Command C, and then Command F forward. So now we have a duplicate right on front. Then we're going to go to transform. We're going to go to Y, and we're going to do plus 5. So it's going to move 5. Feel free to decorate the center because this isn't going to affect on any of the objects. All right, so we finished the pattern and we put some art in the center. The next thing we want to do is we're going to trim the edges so we can make it into a continuous pattern. So I want to make sure that my square box is still locked, and I want to grab all of the other shapes. I'm going to make sure that the shapes are all objects. When you start cropping patterns, if it's not an object, I found that there can be some failure. So to eliminate failure, I go to Object and I change them all into shapes by outlining the path. You can see now that the lines are gone through the center and they're all just shapes, which is great. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unlock our box. This was our die that we used to make sure everything lined up in the 5x5. The Option Command 2 to unlock. You can also go to Option and unlock up here. So next, I'm going to bring this box forward by going to Object Arrange Front. And then from there, I'm going to swap them and make it a fill. I'm going to select them all so I can kind of see what's still there. Next, I'm going to do Pathfinder Crop. Cropping will cut everything that's on the outside of the square. It's all grouped. Now we can just drag and drop this into swatches. So swatches will hold on to a seamless pattern for us. It needs to be seamless. So if you didn't do the math correct, you're going to have a space. So make sure that that is correct. So I'll move that over, and we're going to take a rectangle and cover the whole paper. And I want to add a little color to it. And then I'm going to lock it, since we know how to lock. Command 2, another rectangle. Remember, that was just M. I didn't have to go and click at it. So I'm just going to leave a little bit of an edge to it. And then I'm going to go to my swatches, which I actually could go up here too, and find it and click on it. And I can choose a more bright color that'll work with the black shapes. You can see that it's seamless because you can see that there's no line in between the triangle, because the triangle was cut off. If there was a problem, you would see a gap. And that's it. I am so excited to see what you're going to create in the next video.